everyone, this is Dawn. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make this card using the Make a Splash stamp set with thin cuts and some paper from the Blue Skies collection. So I've got everything set up in my MISTI and I'm going to ink everything up in black ink. And I'm stamping this on white daisy cardstock. And off camera I'm going to do a whole bunch more, but I won't show it today. So I'm all done stamping, and now I've cleaned up my stamps with my stamp chamois, and then I'm going to put them back on the carrier sheet, and I'll get the MISTI out of the way. Okay, so now we're ready to start coloring. So I'm going to take you through the coloring of the rain boots or galoshes, and then I'll show you what I do after I color them. So I've sped this up super fast. I hope it's not making you dizzy, but it's kind of a lengthy process, the coloring, so I've sped it up for you. So I'm going to color in the boots with yellow, and this is a nice bright citrusy yellow, and it's got 3 different shades on these markers. So I'm just doing a little color blending here to get some shading and contouring, and we'll get all those colored in. You just keep going back and forth. You start with the lightest color and kind of lay down some color, and then you start working in from the edges, the medium, and then the dark. And you just keep going back and forth until you're happy with the way it looks. And in case you didn't know, if you put down color and it's a little too dark, you can actually kind of remove it if you're in the same color family. If you take the light version of the marker and go over it, and it can also work as removing color if you need to. And then there's also a color blending tool that will really remove it as well. But it just helps in blending. If you find an area that you shaded a little too dark, then you can go back just a little bit. It's very subtle, but that's an option. Okay, so now I'm going to bring my MISTI back in, and then the stamp set has polka dots and also another pattern that you can put on top of the boots. So I'm lining up the polka dots in my MISTI on top of my image. And this is a microfiber cloth that I'm just seasoning the stamp with so that it will take the ink. And I'm tapping it with my anti-static pouch first, and then I'm going to ink up my stamp with Versamark and stamp down. And then I'm going to take some white detail embossing powder and sprinkle it on top. And get my image cleaned up and ready to heat with my heat tool. So I'm bringing my heat gun in, and I'm heating it from the bottom right now to get it started, and then the powder will start to melt. Okay, so that image is all done. Get things kind of cleaned up here. And then I'm back to coloring, and I'm going to skip ahead in a couple minutes, a couple seconds. So, all right, now I'm finished coloring my flowers, and then I'm going to take everything over to my Big Shot and cut everything out with the metal dies. Now this is a stencil I created. It's with the stencil film that we have available. I'll put a link in the description below. I created the stencil on Design Space, and I just keyed in the search bar cloud stencil, and a bunch of different images came up. And so I don't specifically know which cartridges these collections these clouds came from, but I just kind of cobbled together some cloud images, and then I welded them and contoured it and created my own stencil on Design Space. And I might go back and do it again because some of the cloud images that I chose, they're a little too tight and too small, and I like the fluffier round ones better, I found, once I started actually using the stencil. But this worked. So I'm taking my blending brush and some Carolina ink, and I'm just blending right next to the edge of the stencil and just kind of moving it around so that it's very random. And I'm leaving some white space above where I'm blending so that it looks like fluffy clouds. And then you just wipe your stencil down and everything down with your microfiber cloth. And now I'm ready to start building my card. Okay, so I'm deciding on my sentiment. And I chose when life gives you a puddle, make a splash. So I'm stamping this in black ink on the light side of Carolina cardstock. And I tried the splash sentiment on the Carolina, but I felt like it wasn't showing up very well. So it has a wash of color, a stamp that you can create a wash. So I did that in Carolina, and then I took the word splash and stamped over it with black. And I decided that the base of White Daisy, it showed up a little bit better. So that's what I ultimately decided on. Okay, now we're ready to start building our card. I've got a side folding A2, and this is my piece of Blue Skies pattern papers. And I'm just trimming this down so that I can leave a border of bluebird cardstock around it. So I'm starting to figure out my layers here. I like all the bright colors in this Blue Skies collection. So then I have matted my cloud piece panel with bluebird also. And now I'm just kind of figuring out where I want to put all of my images on my card. Just kind of playing around with it. All right, now I decided that I wanted to cut out this splash image, and I remembered that part of the Blue Skies collection there was a die for that, a die that looked, it was in the shape of a cloud, and so I pulled that, and then I cut out my splash sentiment with that cloud die, and then I've made a banner with the other portion of that sentiment. Okay, so I decided I needed to just make the banner on one side of that sentiment, and I cut off the other side so that it was flat because I want to tuck it under the flowers. So now I'm ready to start adhering everything, and I'm using my broad tip glue pen to get the cardstock down. And this is an A2 size card, so it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'll just smooth everything out with my bone folder, and then I'm ready for the next layer. So these Blue Skies papers are available in my online store along with this stamp set that comes with or without the thin cuts. It's called Make a Splash, and they're all part of the new May-June catalog, so they are currently available. And the URL for my online store is in the upper right corner, and I will make a list of all the supplies in the description below with links so you can go to my online store to purchase these items. So now I have a piece of craft foam that I've cut just a little bit smaller than my bluebird piece of cardstock, and I am attaching it with the white Tombow glue. That seems to work the best for this craft foam. So I'm just going to pop that whole panel up just a smidge. Okay, and then I'm just taking a block and putting it on top so that it'll set up and kind of dry flat as possible. And I have added foam tape to all of my elements. I'm skipping ahead again because you don't need to watch me put foam tape on everything. So now I'm kind of moving things around in my card front and figuring out where I want it all to go before I actually tack it down. So we'll get the boots down. And then the flowers. And the little buckle. That one I'm just going to glue direct to the boots. And then I'm going to tuck my sentiment kind of underneath the flowers, but I realized that I didn't have enough room from side to side for everything, so fortunately I was able to pull the flowers up and scooch it over just a smidge so that I would have room for everything. Sometimes you have to make adjustments. So the left portion of that sentiment is going to get glued directly to the card, and then the part on the right is kind of hanging over and it's on that popped panel. So I'm taking the leftover bit when I trimmed off to make that piece that fit of craft foam that fit under the panel. And I'm just taking a little bit of that because it's the same height, and I'm going to tuck that under the edge of that banner just so it doesn't get smashed down and bent, and everything will be on the same level. So I kind of tucked that in there. And now I'm deciding if I want to pop the splash element. And I'm just kind of putting it on top of this foam just to see what it looks like before I actually start gluing things down. And I decided yes, I want it to pop that. So I'm putting some foam tape on there. And then I'll add that to my card front. And then off camera, I added some bitty sparkles to the flowers, the centers of the little daisies. And then I did a wash of shimmer brush over the splash to finish everything off. So I appreciate you taking some time to watch my video today. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. And if you like what you see, please hit that thumbs up as well. Thanks for watching.